素敵です。I'll come back の月は綺麗ですね。ありがとう。その通りです。ちょっとごめんなさい。There is an expression to say I love you in Japanese. That's sometime next chapter. I'll come back again. はい。今日はスペシャルレクチャーがあります。スペシャルレクチャーの先生。聞いてください。お願いします。
はい。Okay, so I'm going to try and go through a lot of content quickly. If you do have questions about it, though, I'm always available. I'm a little bit overly enthusiastic about anything linguistic. So, and especially Japanese. Anyway, pitch accent. We call it koudei accent in Japanese. Koudei, you know the ko, that's takai. Te is hikui, low. So either high or low, and you'll see why that works. Now, okay, so pitch accent. が日本語にあります。Okay, 何ですか pitch accent. まず、これできますかね There we go. So, 何ですかその pitch accent. What do we mean by that? What is that word? So, it is a type of emphasis, it's a type of accent. It's a way to accent a particular part of a word. We put accent on one vowel in the word. So a word, somewhere in that word, there might be an accent. And that helps us to understand what word was said. So in English, we have something called, well, you can read it here, stress. So stress, in this case. Now, if we listen to this word, for example, Celebrity, where I'm stressing le, celebrity. Or in this case, Celebrate, where I stress cel. Now, what if I read this word? Which word do you think she said? Nothing. Okay, let's try this one. It keeps on cutting the sound file off, but okay, if I said celeb, what word have I said? Celebrity. If I said celebrate. I already know what I'm going to say, right? Based on the first part of that. And when we speak, we speak left to right. That's in real time, right? I don't look at the whole word and then figure out what's said. I'm figuring it out in real time as we're speaking, right? So I'm making a prediction about that. And if I started saying something like celebrity, then people would make a prediction about what word I say, and then and then they need to go back and then correct it. And then they need to figure out what word it is. And this costs time and effort. It makes it harder for us to be understood. That's in English, but the same thing happens in every language that you speak. I actually had a couple Chinese examples, but I'm not going to do them today. For tone, the same idea, right? This is an important way of making our speech understandable to other people. But there's big differences. So, ストレスとアクセントの違い。まず違います。Right? So that's the first important thing. In English, if we have this word, we can get a new record, or we'll record something. Right? So record and record are different in terms of stress. But English stress, well, もっと高いです。で、もっと長いです。で、もっと大きい声で言います。And also, anything that doesn't have stress changes. So if we look at the word record, listen to the eh in that sound, record, versus record. The whole vowel transforms, right? Nothing of that sound is the same. 日本語ではそれがないんです。その vowel reduction がないんです。Right? もっと長くなりません。もっと大きく言いません。で、母音が変わりません。We don't change the sounds. The only thing that we do is change pitch. That's why we call it pitch accent. It is a type of accent that just uses pitch. Right? So, 秋山先生お願いしていいですか？
今。
Right? So it's not ima. I don't say that. I'm not getting louder or longer. The only thing that's different is ima. Okay? So let's take a look at a couple examples. Accent no aru oto. So what does it mean to have an accent? In the word mukashi, there's accent on shi. In fact, on any adjective that has shi, it will always be shi. So, 難しいアクセントがある音。その後にこの後でピッチが急に下がります。Right? That's what that actually means, to have an accent, is that after this, pitch falls. So, words start low, and they are long, high, and flat until I hit an accent. And then I fall. That's the shape of essentially every Japanese word. I start low, I'm high and flat until I hit an accent. So let's take a look at a couple examples. You could hit the accent right away. Okay, so let's say this one, wakashi. Right, so I'm I start low, I'm high, and then I hit the accent right away, so I drop. Okashi. What about this one? Nihonjin. Tennis. In this case, I hit the accent on the very first one. So I don't have a low and then it goes up. It just is high and falls right from the very beginning. Tennis. Baka. Right? It's an easy to remember one. You've probably heard that. Baka. All right. Accent ga nai tango. We could just have the option of not having an accent at all. And in this case, it's low to begin with, and then high and flat through the whole word. I didn't say it to the next word until I basically hit something new. Right? So, otona, nihongo, and this is actually, ichiban yoku aru pattern. This is actually the most common pattern for things. It's so, gakusei, daigaku, kodomo, tomodachi, ichiban, and so on and so forth. For most Japanese words, gairaigo, soto kara kita kotoba, that's usually katakana, they usually do have an accent somewhere. In fact, in particular places. We don't really need to know that right now. But they have an accent. Here's a kind of famous example. So you have the Hashi series. So, Hashi, the Hashi and Hashi. Now in these cases, here's an accent, and here there's just nothing. There's no accent at all. On just Hashi, they would sound identical. They would actually be the same way. The only way you can tell is the particle that comes after it, in this case. So when I do have an accent, then I do fall after that. Otherwise, I'm still waiting. I haven't hit an accent yet. I'm still going to go until the next word. Does that make sense? So let's listen carefully, and then you can repeat these ones. So here's, hopefully.
Hashi wa.
どうぞ。これは
Hashi wa.
Well, yes, but not the Shiva. Again, only pitch. And then last one here.
Hashi wa.
Okay, so, どれを言いましたか？どれを言ってましたか？
Hashi wa.
2番、a bridge。で、これは
Hashi wa.
got chopsticks ですよね。Right. This is kind of like a little joke here, but this bridge is made entirely out of chopsticks, and you can run hashiru across it with from edge to edge. Right. So yeah, hashi no hashi o hashi kara hashi made hashitte watarimashita. You could enjoy that later. Okay. So let's try practicing some words with and without accents and actually saying them. So these are words from your chapter that you just studied. Fufu. Ani. Go shujin. Shumi. Mafra. Chocolate. Neko. Atatakai. で、これはアクセントがない単語ですね。感動する。履歴書。漫画。旅行。魚。犬。などなどあります。Now、気をつけてください。For example、暖かい。もっと長くならない。もっと大きくならない。で、他の音が変わらない。Right? So I'm not going to say, English people often when they're pronouncing it, they're going to say, atsukai,じゃないんです。It's like, it's not atsukai, it's ta-ta. This ta is the same ta in every single position in Japanese. Right? It doesn't matter if there's an accent on it or not. I don't make it into t-t. It's all ta-ta, atatakai, and it takes the same amount of time. The only thing that's different is pitch. I'm going to say that about 50 times, but yeah. The only thing that's different about it is pitch. Okay. So, 今まで大丈夫ですか？ Alright. So, 結構便利ですよね、ピッチは。じゃあどうして教えませんか？普通は we don't really pay a whole lot of attention to this, usually, right? Genki actually tells you why they don't pay a lot of attention to it, and they say that it's because it varies a lot. This is a simplified map of Japanese pitch accent patterns. You can see that there are many of them, and they vary by region, by generation, by level of education. You don't like to talk about that, but it does have an impact. Between and even within individuals, including some places, here in Miyazaki, here in Fukushima, and actually a little bit here in Shikoku, where accent just isn't used at all. All words essentially just have no accent, except for the things that I'm about to talk to you about. So it's more to memorize. And there are many patterns for when you combine words together. So there's a lot to kind of remember and things. And so people just kind of avoid it. And I don't think that's a good idea. So どうしてそんな難しいことを教えるのってなるよね。So why are you going to bother teaching us these difficult things that vary all over the place? Well, first, even in regions that don't use pitch accent, there are some patterns that are invariant. They happen everywhere. And I'm going to teach you 3 today. And those patterns you can rely on. There are other things that you can just say. After pitch falls, pitch will never come back up again within a word. That just is not a thing, and yet people say that a lot. People will say things, like almost shiroi, like almost. That will never happen in Japanese. So there are some things. It's this shape to a Japanese word. If I'm rising again, that indicates the beginning of a new word. That's how I know a new word is beginning. So I don't just rise up in the middle of a word. That's not a thing. Right, so that at least you can rely on. People probably won't completely misunderstand you if you mess up pitch, but it will give a much better first impression than otherwise. Okay, so I talked about 3 patterns. I'm going to say 3 patterns that you can rely on that are the same from Hokkaido to Okinawa. The whole country has this one pattern, and what's nice about it is there are no exceptions in the whole language either. So these ones you can rely on. Short form of verbs you kind of can't rely on. You just have to memorize them. There's nothing really great about that. So just look it up. But long forms of verbs are wonderful. So on mashita, it's always on ma. You've probably intuited this on some level if you've really listened carefully. So これを言いましょう。食べます。遊びます。食べました。遊びました。And for ません or ませんでした, it's on sen. So 食べません。遊びません。食べませんでした。遊びませんでした。For ましょう on しょう. So 食べましょう。遊びましょう. And it doesn't matter how long the word is, even if it's a new word, you will know that when it's in mas form, it's on mas. It's on ma. So here's the longest word that I could think of in the dictionary. This means to receive an order. Uketamawaru is the verb. Uketamawarimasu. Uketamawarimasen. And you have the same pattern. It doesn't matter how long it's going to be. There are no exceptions in the whole language to that one. So that's one pattern worth remembering. You're going to say verbs a lot. It's the end of every sentence. And they are invariant. 2 more. E-adjectives. Non-adjectives you can't really do anything about, but E-adjectives you can. It will always come right before E. So 寒い。かっこいい。これはどうですか？美しい。楽しい。甘い。早い。Now, especially on this one, when you were saying it, it sounded like amai. So careful about that. It is, again, just pitch, right? Amai. Amai. The last one. 質問の言葉, we call them 疑問詞, like question words. What's the pattern? First one. Right, first one. どこ? いつ? 何? どんな? 誰? どうして? どれ? And so on. So those are 3 patterns that you'll use a lot. And at least for that, I think pitch is pretty reliable. It will help your pronunciation become a lot more easily comprehensible. After that, you'll just have to kind of listen and look them up. We're going to put this up on Canvas, but these are some places that you could look it up if you wanted to know more about it, including all of these images I got from Oda from the University of Tokyo. But you can just put it in and it will come up with the intonation pattern. It makes some mistakes sometimes, you have to be a little bit careful. It's a computer, it doesn't think, but there, a lot of them work. And then last, for people who use Macs, and unfortunately only Macs, PCs don't have this. If you go to just dictionary and you type a word in, it will tell you where the accent is. But only if you use the Japanese dictionary. If you do Japanese English, they've given up on us and they don't think that we need that. So gakusei or akirameru. But yeah, and they have the whole table for you. では以上です。If you have 質問。質 人はぜひいつでも聞いてください。はい。